So this game is played yesterday by the current Yugoslav champion. Am I right? Manakova is the current. Okay, so I made my research, which was good. Spouse of famous ex-spouse of famous Grandmaster Tosic. From Niš, but living in Severlik.
No, he's from Severlik.
He's from Severlik, still living in Severlik.
Okay. This I'm not sure.
Okay. We have spoken about the previous fragment of a game to game, you know, like Pirc Robachev himself. How do we call this? How do you call this? Wrong. No, it's not wrong. It's in different parts of the world, it's called by different things. But with Lasker, usually it is called Lasker's trap. You know why? Because Schlechter didn't go knight db5. Schlechter thought for some time, went for knight b3, bishop b4, and Lasker had a quite decent game, and he even drew. I say, you know, yes. The famous match they had so many draws, and Lasker was on the verge of losing the match by the rules nobody knew. Dr. Hübner tried to reveal some manuscripts, but this is one name, Lasker's trap. But Lasker never played it with today's understanding. And for many, many years, this has been thought to be absolutely unplayable for black. If one reads that I really recommend, you know, this one of these books from the series Gary came up with, that Revolution in 70s. The book is based particularly on two systems. This is one of them. The other one is Hedgehog, which was created by Lubo, but he's missing today. Maybe he will later come. And he was the creator, and his colleague, friend, Ulf Andersson, I mean, he liked it even more. He tried many different ways. Lubo was doing it basically mostly against knight f3, c4 type of openings. And in some countries, this is also called like pelican.
Yes.
Why? No, not because the figure looks like the animal pelican. Yishe Pelikan was a Czech international master, defected during Buenos Aires Olympiad because of the start of the Second World War. He didn't want to come back. But what he was playing, either after bishop f6, gf6, knight a3, or, I mean, it's even riskier, he was going for the pawn sacrifice. It's also played. I mean, it's not the best thing, but it's played. Black doesn't lose. It only gets a bad position. So Pelikan name comes from there. For people who are interested in history, also during the Soviet invasion, the guy who defended the radio television station had exactly the same name, Yishe Pelikan. From those years, we also know famous opening theorist Pachman, who was, you know, he was changing political sides from time to time. But the real conception came here, and that's why the defense is sometimes called Chelyabinsk. This beautiful city of Ural, I have been, played a strong tournament back in time in 1991. Had three important players. I mean, one of them is not, people are not maybe acquainted with his name that much, but Timoshchenko was the first one to play. analyzing it with Sveshnikov, who never changed after some years. Then he changed into some even earlier form without putting the knight on f6, in a different form. And there was Semenuk. 3 people. That's why it's a little bit unfair to to other 2 to call it Sveshnikov Sicilian, which is also another name. And this seriously surrenders the d5 square. I remember all these years, mid-70s, everybody was crazy for this. I don't know why. I myself as well. I played a couple of times. Basically didn't beat anyone. Like I mean. But on the other hand, it was a tough defense. Really, really tough defense. But then years have been passed. Like many of these theoretical issues, how tough is Marshall's gambit? It's tough because it's very difficult to win against it. This one is also as tough as this. So, this is one tabia, white can choose, which was very popular because many people were going for this position, like Fischer. He really liked this kind of position. Coming from our previous game, for instance, many times he did in this position knight b5. After d6, came back. Now the knight is on b1, it's a completely different position. It's not a real tempo loss, because sometimes the knight could be developed from d2 in some lines. But obviously Fischer really liked to do, after a6, he would take it, go with the knight somewhere to c3. He would like to play this position. So what has been changed, even with, it's really not so exact to say, to surrender this d5 square and everything, people came up with a real string of moves which allows to make this line playable for black. White has some optical positional edge. It's a very nice knight on d5. Black has 2 bishops, but d6 is back. On the other hand, just like in Boleslavsky type of e5 in Najdorf, in 4 knights Sicilian, you don't win the game by just conquering a square. Historically here, first, people who touched this position, they went more for c3 move, with the absolute aim of carrying the knight back into the game. In this game, white, Marina Makropoulou, the seasoned Romanian-born Greek woman grandmaster, she has chosen c4. It's a sharp move, it's very much a la mode. I mean, I would really advise whoever wants to play it with white, they really should be aware of castles. Just to throw the pawn, and then black plays knight d4. I was looking at it yesterday a little bit more, and I knew that black could play like this. And now it really looks like b takes a6. In this position is very risky. This is one of few thematic stuff. I mean, queen d3, rook c8. There are some amazing things here. Beautiful, but a little bit too good to be true. Why this line is not that popular? I mean, I don't know if both sides, they were conversant with all these ideas. because sometimes people blindfoldly follows what is current theory. Sometimes one changes and the results could be really, really drastic. But after c takes b5, knight d4, assuming that the problem is connected with the move b6, our bishop is on f6, yet. Now bishop b7, bishop c4, rook b8, black gets the pawn back, castles, takes, brings the queen to c5. Is this terrible? I don't know. Is this really terrible for black that nobody chooses it these days? I mean, probably you had some chess lessons from Sveshnikov when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Did you check it?
I can't recall.
Or
My sister was playing for quite some time.
well, because he was recommending one of the terrible things about chess coaches. They always recommend what they do, but some of these positions are idiosyncratic. You try to do like the coach, then you make the coach angry when you lose a game or two. Or I mean, even you can win the game, but I mean, this doesn't look so terrible for me. I mean, if this is terrible, there are worse lines in the Sicilian. But in our game, for a while, they came up with the theory. So, black has chosen the common move. With a knight on d5. The common move b4, and it's really not so advisable to touch this pawn after queen a4. It's too many moves. You know, queen a4, bishop d7 takes, just knight d4. It's really, really dangerous for white. So black has played this and then castled. Again, you know, touching it, some people try to, they even get slightly worse, I assume. Comes important position. That white can play normal here, bishop e2. Black has a standard plan, you know, just he really has to, okay, sometimes b3 can be. Black really has to move his guys in such a way not to blunder this fork, that we need this rook a b8, and then maybe to throw the bishop to d8. Maybe not. There are many plans. But here in this game, an alternative plan has been chosen by Mrs. Makropoulou. She just played h4, sort of closing the c1, h6 diagonal for the black bishop. Because next move, she will anchor pawn h4 with g3 and will play bishop h3, which will bring the game some usual flavor for this line, or for this type of position. There are many similar position in this opening. So Manakova has chosen bishop e7, and my question is, how terrible this exchange? Obviously e takes d5 doesn't make much sense. Queen takes d5, queen b6, black is active enough, and c takes d5. It's clear that knight d4 black will be worse, but can also bring his own knight to b5. I believe this is not so terrible for me. Whatever she did in the game, also she didn't stand worse in reality. She brought first bishop to e7. After bishop h3, obviously now positionally, she has no other choice. She brought bishop e6 in. And the common plan here that white goes king f1, queen d7, king g2. Protects the bishop, and then black also brings the bishop to d8, then to b6, then to the diagonal. A little bit slow, you know, there are tons of games. And white played, in my opinion, an interesting plan. Put this knight on e3, the other one surrenders the d4 square in this circumstances. I don't know how serious that would be. And then brought her own bishop here. Very tactical play. They circled nicely. And she played g4. And white has a very simple idea. We'll play g5, we'll put the knight on g4, we'll line up her pieces on the g line, someone will play knight f6 and checkmate. Too good to be true. But it's a plan. Now, according to the results of these games, we always change our verdict that sometimes a bad plan is better than doing nothing. Sometimes by a bad plan you lose a bishop, or I don't know, you lose the initiative. It's a very complicated game actually. I mean, many people will not become an aficionado of white's plan, but I sort of like it, although what will it deliver? I mean, it's doubtful, obviously. So in case of g6, I think white will play h5, and this may be really dangerous for black. Not only for the sake of being mated, you know, just losing the positional battle. I really don't like to touch to this
Already
pose.
too many weaknesses in black's structure. G6 will only...
You think it will be, so you don't want to play Sveshnikov?
Well, I'm not a fan of concrete pawn structure.
So Zhenya Sveshnikov...
You know, if the pawn is for hold my game on d6 and e5, I just don't
But
like
there is
it.
something good about this. If you throw out this...
You have to compensate with a lot of tactics.
But you can even lose it.
That is true, but I'm more fan of some flexible structures where I can choose...
You prefer, yeah.
The plan which...
So only your sister was convinced.
My sister liked Lasker quite a lot. She enjoyed playing.
No, but you were not telling to Zhenya Sveshnikov, this is Lasker. No, he would be really upset, yeah, like when you say, my good friend John Fedorovich once to Paul Benko said like, I see that you play Volga Gambit. And I mean, the other one was really furious. I have seen this nasty conversation, you know, like, it's my gambit, not Volga Gambit. So, no, this is absolutely, you know, I agree with you. It's.
I think here black somehow lost the initiative, which should be compensating these weaknesses in the position. I don't know.
It's very difficult.
I would definitely not play this with black.
No, this is, yeah,
I mean, according to my...
Sharp comments, but no, it's sharp. I mean, and the position is sharp. I will tell you, look what happened, interesting. Black came all the way around the A line. You will see that black played very active. Computers are having a feast with black's, you know, position, how good it is. I have my doubts, I agree with you. Sorry, she brought first knight d4 in. I was toying a little bit with e takes d4 type of ideas, but okay, bishop d4 is more normal. Came knight g4. And she played rook a8. I mean, heavy tactics. Black could play d5, which should be subject for another game. I don't know why computer really likes it for black, but I really think like you do that. I mean, this rampant knight on g4 is really a pain in the position. But Manakova, who is playing this defense for many, many years.
Yes, even I played once with white against her. Just I'm trying to remember the game. Just I cannot.
But with this knight d5 and bishop f6 or bishop f6 g6 knight d5, or something completely different with a4 or early.
I think some a4 came at some moment. Just it was very, very long time ago, so I can't remember.
So she did rook a8, castles, came rook a2. So she stepped away just to be sure about this knight f6, probably even the move before. It was not working, and now also it's interesting, you know, I mean, here white has this option to take on e6, first time happening, because if e6 due to the back rank mate, you know, just is impossible. So bishop e6, queen e6, and to play knight e3, and then to take it with e pawn. And probably you would be very angry with both players because they seriously damage their pawn structures. I mean, this is I made my colleague upset about this is terrible, yeah.
Position's sake, but I don't know.
No, especially women, they are more aesthetic about chess. You know, everything should be in. You know, it's in its place, you know, this is terrible, my God, these two people there, backward d6, out expanded b4, weak b3, everything is weak king on h8. And also, we don't know why this kingside pawns are advanced, yeah. This doesn't make much sense in any case. And this is, I don't know, I like this. I mean, I don't know, it's a personal taste. Once again, you know, just some interesting point of the game.
And knight is on g4.
G4, yeah, we got the rampant knight. You see, I want to always block this Nimzovich approach. Sorry about it, thanks. Yeah, no, this is important, knight g4, because you will see.
So she didn't take on e6?
No, she continued with her plan that g line opens knight f6, game finished.
Right, yes. Okay.
She really continued, it's really sometimes very interesting. So, some strange positional moves they did. If I didn't write the game wrong. I mean, rook c2 aiming to c3, then rook d3, this part is there. It's really strange. I think, I mean, the more I look yesterday night when the lights were off, you know, the position was looking a little bit different. Now, in the broad daylight, you know, just came very strong move, knight f6. This is a terrible strong move. I mean, this is part of the plan. It was sure like, you know, like the famous movie, how was it? How many times knocks the postman the door or something like this?
No,
Gone
he knocks only twice, I think.
Something like, yeah, like, sorry about my... It's a romantic movie that,
Yes.
I mean, for me, it's like how many times he was knocking the door. Was it important? And then or a famous novel by Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot. Godot never came, but here knight f6 came. Knight f6 really, really, in my opinion, is a strong, very strong move. The refusal of it. That's terrible. That's really, really winning. I mean, even the f2 pawn falls, white doesn't care. Just, I mean, for one move maybe cares this direction. Gf6, queen h6, I mean, everything. It's like caught under ice. So, I think it was a shock for Masha. I mean, I don't know, it's very strange for me. Why was it such a shock? Because obviously it was suspending in the air like a sword of Damocles, yeah? Damocles sword, like it's always upper in your head, I mean, on the top of your head, it is swinging. At some moment it will fall. And she lost the game. Incredibly quickly. So now there are double threats, queen h7 or g7, king h7, g8, queen. And even she played queen d7, g7, which doesn't matter. And it's just a little bit questionable. Bishop g4 is equal to resignation. And I mean, could she really try to evacuate her king to the other side? Sorry, the bishop is on d4, which is very important. Because comes now the tactical sequence, and everything drops down, just like in Manakova's game. Comes now e5, very important. If the rook would have been here, the sacrifice doesn't work. Now bishop h7 hits to rook c2, and also e takes d6 delivers the desired checkmate, because controls the e7 square. So basically white gets the sacrifice material. He just gets it, but this position, is it so unplayable for black? This I really doubt. So, as I have said, white had this very interesting plan from the beginning, which seemingly succeeded due to strangely bad play by the current Serbian champion.
Maybe she didn't realize the threat, or she was not cautious.
But it's impossible. I mean, you got a knight on g4. I mean, knight h6 is too deep, yeah?
No,
like
I
it
think,
doesn't happen.
No, what I meant is like maybe she saw that eventually white will play.
She forgot in a moment,
no,
yeah?
I think probably she didn't find it too threatening or.
Yeah, she was thinking that, I mean,